Welcome to the video edition of The Fourth Curtain, featuring this week's interview. Catch the extended audio version with Alex and Aaron's commentary wherever you get your podcasts. On with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. I am so thrilled today to be welcoming fellow Chicagoan and CEO of Jackbox Games, Mike Bilder. Mike's been running Jackbox for just a hot minute. What has it been? 17 years?
Yeah.
Is that about?
Yeah. 18 this summer. Yeah.
It's insane.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
I remember back in the old days when Bungie was in downtown, I got to go up and visit what was then Jellyvision, which I think is the ancestor to Jackbox.
I'm happy to give you the whole story if you're curious.
Well, the thing that made such an impression on me was how many writers were there. I mean, I had a buddy so I went to U Chicago. I think you might have gone to the business school. I don't know where you went to undergrad.
I did, yeah.
But in any case, I had a buddy from U Chicago. It was like an English major. He was in like the theater thing and all this stuff. And he ended up being a writer at Jellyvision, which at the time, back then, I don't know what this was, 90s?
Yeah.
Writers and video games were a little bit novelty, and I thought it was super cool.
Yeah. And we're still in the intro, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to the end of the intro. I mean,
we've done a 45-minute intro.
Well, for anybody
the whole podcast will be in the intro. And
and anybody who's not, I don't think there is anybody who's not familiar with Jackbox, but I would call you guys the undisputed king of party games. So I was just going to end the intro
starters,
by saying, welcome to the party, Mike. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually in Chicago this week, and I know you are. So it's too bad we're not in the actual physical same room, but it's what a great time of year to be here. Yeah, I have friends who keep telling me I should go pitch the Chicago Board of Tourism to advertise on our podcast because I'm always pumping up the city.
Really?
Yeah, but like you guys, so you've been at Jackbox. Was 17 years ago? Was it Jackbox or was it Jellyvision then?
Yeah, it was Jellyvision. So it was kind of the so Jellyvision. I'll give you the history. I'll try to do it quickly if you're curious. But
I'm very curious about the history.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the company was formed in 1989, and it was called Learn Television. And the founder, Harry Gottlieb, was working on educational software, interactive quiz type games. With teachers' guides and stuff for kind of middle school into high school, and that pivoted from Learn Television into Jellyvision, and they took a game that they had called That's a Fact, Jack, and that became the basis of what got turned into the You Don't Know Jack franchise. And
That's right, You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah, so did a pivot into You Don't Know Jack into the 90s and kind of in through the late 90s into the early 2000s, and then as kind of the bottom dropped out of the CD-ROM market on PC at the time, and consoles like PlayStation, really started to take a foothold. They weren't the best equipped to take what needed a keyboard for typing gibberish answers into or buzzing in with multiple people. Like transitioning into home console didn't go quite that great. So Harry kind of shut down the original Jellyvision company. He founded a new company called the Jellyvision Lab, which took a lot of the technology from the interactive conversation engine and things that they had built for the You Don't Know Jack franchise and started making a B2B type and B2C type business out of that. So doing all kinds of kind of web configurators for how to pick out a laptop or their big product right now is a product called Alex, which helps people pick out their benefits, and it's kind of sold into Fortune 100 companies, and it's a whole interactive thing. Come open enrollment time, how do you choose your PPO or your HMO, that kind of stuff, and it's all based off of kind of the same logic tree and the Jack principles that Harry calls them of interactive conversation that was kind of created and pioneered in the whole You Don't Know Jack game. So
wow, Jack principles. And let's just back up. What a great product name there, by the way, Alex. I love it.
But I was going to say, I have an Alex.
But I'm not sure I live by the Jack principles. What are what's that?
Yeah, so there's actually kind of a white paper on this, and Harry actually presented it at GDC back in the 90s, but you can find it online. And it's kind of rules and guidelines for how to, again, this is kind of pre-AI, the ability for computers to follow, kind of input and respond. It's more, how do you give the illusion of interactivity, through kind of already pre-programmed scripts, and how do you write for that? How do you do logic branching for that? It's a lot of what I think made You Don't Know Jack a really impactful product at the time. It wasn't the flashy visuals. It's a very simple game. There's no avatars on screen. The reason there's no avatars on screen is because it's meant for you to feel like you're on the show and you're actually interacting with the show. And the way it's written and the responses that Cookie has, for instance, as the host, very aware of what you're doing, very aware of your answers, and if you're succeeding or failing, punishing you if you get lippy, if you type in bad words, and things like that. Like, it has this veil of interactivity. It really feels like the game is communicating with you, and that kind of became the basis of the Jack principles and Harry's kind of layout of how to communicate with computers to humans, basically.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I do remember. I remember playing You Don't Know Jack and being very impressed with the.
Yeah.
I mean, just the vibe. It was like it felt like a show. It was funny. It would do unexpected things. I think I was very good at it because I could hit the buzzer. I was good. That was something for everybody, I suppose.
Right.
How is that? So, I mean, is that still? I mean, I gotta imagine two things. One, still important to your business now, but also AI. I hate to say is that a word, or it's an abbreviation, right?
Yeah, it's in a word now, right? It's like app.
I gotta imagine that's had a big impact on how you guys think about building now.
I mean, it's had an impact of how we think about it, but we still utilize those same kind of tools internally for flow charting, and we aren't integrating AI voices and using AI to write the dialogue in real time or anything. It's still very human touch what we do. Cool. And I think that's part of what makes us unique with our DNA. And I also think that's how we get humor across. I think it's one of our secret sauces. We're kind of consistently funny, either in our writing or in our ability to make the player feel funny or have fun and be funny. And that's a lot of Chicago writers, Second City comedy writers. I mean, we kind of employ and have the strategy that now that we had back in the day of You Don't Know Jack, and just hiring a bunch of people out of the Chicago comedy scene.
That's awesome. I was going to ask if you still have a lot of writers around. It sounds like the answer is yes.
Yeah,
So
I didn't know they came from there.
We absolutely do.
That's cool. Like a stand-up comic?
Yeah, we have a lot of people that perform at Second City and Improv Olympics, and that's kind of where a lot of our talent, our writing talent, comes from.
I didn't know.
You got to have the best holiday parties.
We have fun. We have fun. Yeah. It's one fun thing about working at this company. I mean, I have been here quite a long time, but there's at least one or two moments every day where you're laughing out loud at something. Like, you just work with a bunch of creative, funny people. It's hard not to.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
What a great vibe. Like, so are you all in person?
No,
hybrid,
we're not.
remote?
Yeah, we're still remote first. So we have an office. We had quite a large office pre-COVID. We actually just expanded. And then during the COVID years, we figured out how to do this all remotely. And we also expanded the studio at the time, the headcount. We hired a good 20 plus people, and most of them were not located in Chicago. So, so we kind of, instead of doing some mandated back to office, we figured as long as we can continue to be successful doing what we're doing, let's stick with it, and we'll just act remote first. So there's an office, people go into it. I was just in there yesterday, actually. But it's kind of sparse, at least compared to what it used to be.
How big is the studio now?
So we are just about 86 people.
Wow, that's a great size.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it feels good. It feels big, but like I don't want to grow too much bigger. Like I like the size where you still know people and it still feels less corporate, not a lot of layering type thing.
How many games do you have running at the same time? Like projects?
Yeah, so in any given year, we're always working on a party pack, and so there's 5 games in the pack, and those are set up as kind of 5 individual teams that all feed into the pack. And then we have a number of other kind of initiatives that we've been pursuing. We have a standalone game that we've announced. So Trivia Murder Party is getting a proper sequel, and that's actually being built in Unreal. So it's kind of a different take on the game, at least in what we can do visually and what we can do with some of the mini games. So that's running alongside another party pack team. And then we have, full marketing team. We have, kind of what a typical studio publisher developer might have. We also just launched on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that, but we have the Jackbox Party Essentials, which is 3 of our popular games running on Netflix. So there was a team working on that. We're working on our own kind of subscription streaming platform. So the ability on smart TVs to have a Jackbox app that you can launch, play some of our games with ads.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then play, pay a bit in subscription and get access to the entire catalog. So we've got a team working on that. We kind of have a lot of irons in the fire at the moment. And then we just announced a third-party title that we're going to publish. So
okay. Yeah, I thought I read somewhere that you guys were going to start doing third-party publishing. What's the first title?
The first title is a game out of Australia called My Arms Are Longer Now. And it's it's kind of it's really great. We met these folks a couple of times, but through Penny Arcade, going to PAX Australia, and we got to really get to know them and see their game. And their DNA is just so spot on with what our DNA is at Jackbox. They're just very funny. They're kind of improv comedians. They're game developers. You play as this disembodied arm that you control in 3D space, and it's kind of a heist game. You have to steal things, and you have to kind of manipulate objects in the levels. It's if you were to kind of combine Untitled Goose Game and Thank Goodness You're Here, if you know either of those 2 games, it's kind of what I would mash the 2 of those together and say that's a lot of what the DNA of this game is. Yeah, but so different for us. It's a single player game, doesn't require you to have a big party of friends, but comedy bent, hopefully fun and appealing to our audience.
Right on. That's awesome. All right, well, let's get into the Wayback Machine a little bit.
Yeah.
And
you did mention Motorola at the beginning. So I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Hello, Moto. Was that your first job working at Motorola?
First job out of college. Yeah.
And where was college? Where was like the formative years of high school too?
Formative years of high school, south side of Chicago. I went to Marist High School.
Oh my gosh, Marist are the fairest. My wife went to Mother Macaulay right down the block.
There you go. And, right. Yeah.
And our CTO Jay Pecco went to Marist. Maybe you guys were classmates. I don't know, but no, I think he
possible. I don't know. Is he older, younger?
He's younger.
He's probably younger. I think. Are you my age? You're probably a little younger than me, I'm guessing.
I'm 50.
Yeah, you're a little younger than me. Jay is significantly younger than the both of us.
And I'm not going to know him. Might know an older brother or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, on. Okay, so you went to Marist Southside.
Went to Marist Southside. Went to Purdue for my undergrad. Initially studying electrical engineering, and then pivoted into computer science. Because I just like the programming side of it much better.
So you have a CS degree. You're a STEM guy.
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't programmed in a while.
I don't know if you have kids, but like, what do you think of like, programmer CS, right? Like I got a kid in college who's a CS major. Yeah. And we talk about like the future of programming and tech all the time. Do you think about that at all? I mean, maybe
I do. My son's a sophomore in college, and he's doing computer engineering. So he's doing hardware side, but of course you're exposed to all the software as well. But yeah, I mean, I worry about that. I would imagine the same way you do or others in the tech field. Like, what does 5 years from now look like in the industry? What does it look like to be a software engineer? What does it look like to be a hardware engineer? I think things are always overblown. and I don't think this is going to eliminate all kinds of jobs, and I think it will eliminate some because it's going to automate a bunch of things. But I think there'll still be, people at the helm behind a lot of this stuff. And so if you know how to prompt it, if you know how to get the right, you don't have to be, the talk to the metal kind of savant computer scientist, to have, the super high end job, but you need to know how to prompt it and get the right output. And I think that's still just a human craft. And so, I think if you have that technical knowledge and the ability to problem solve, I think STEM is still a good field for anybody.
Yeah.
So,
it would just be fewer people, though, right? Like,
potentially, right. I think that's the challenge. I think it's going to automate away. You'll do a lot more with less, is what'll happen.
Yeah, I might revise your sentence, Aaron. I don't know if there'll be fewer people. There'll be
more
same
stuff.
number of people. There'll just be fewer people who get paid. which isn't necessarily a positive thing, but Mike, right. I think I agree with that. I like the more I experiment with all of these tools, I think the sort of where you start to see real value emerge is in the design aspect of
the human element
of creativity. It's the creative aspect and all of this. So if you're a programmer and you're also creative and you want to make a thing, you still have, now you're way more potent.
You have more tools. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, anyway, so I interrupted your journey to Purdue, where you went from double E to computer science. And did you actually get a degree in computer science from Purdue?
I did.
That's hot shot. That's
I did.
You probably had the choice of, you were recruited by everyone.
There were a few opportunities at the time, but I really wanted to get into gaming. Like I was lifelong video game fanatic. Like blisters on the thumb playing Atari. Every dollar bill I made mowing the lawn, I would go to a lad.
Did you have a 2600, an Atari 2600?
I did have an Atari. I still do. Yeah, I still have all that stuff from back in the day. Yeah,
right. That was your first one.
That was my first console. It was really my father's console, right? It was a 30th birthday present for my dad, and I was the one that played the hell out of it. Yeah. But, I'd go to the coin op was where it was at. So I'd go to the arcade wherever there were, Ladin's Castle, any local place. 7-Eleven had a couple arcade games, right? Like I'd spend every dollar, every quarter I had pumping them into arcade games. And
you were playing Defender.
I was playing Defender. We have a Defender at the Jackbox office, actually.
Okay.
Original.
You have Eugene come over and sign it?
No, I haven't. I have not. No.
Did you? All right. Not to jump through the story, but I know you were at Midway. Did you ever?
So hang out with Eugene Jarvis? The third week I was at Midway was Eugene's going away party.
Oh so my gosh.
I did not overlap with Eugene developing games together, but I know him and know him well in the Chicago scene. And I did overlap a bit with George Petro as well, if you know him, Play Mechanics and Raw Thrills. Those guys, kind of teamed up. So I certainly know them, but that's part of, I got hired in to Midway to work on the next coin-op sports station game. So the next NFL Blitz, NBA, Hangtime, Showtime, like that next sequel cabinet. And then about 9 months in, they decided to abandon all of coin-op and shut it down. So then everybody that was working on coin-op immediately had to find homes on the home console development teams, which was, again, kind of first year of being at Midway, scattered from a coin-op Blitz sequel team to now a PlayStation Blitz game team.
Okay, I'm sure that wasn't like shock at all. And just context for listeners, we name drop Eugene Jarvis, who made Defender and runs Raw Thrills now, and he was on the show. I think season 1, season 2. So you can search that up if you want to hear about Eugene.
Robotron,
made a Halo
one of my favorite arcade games. Like, he did a bunch. Robotron.
Oh, Robotron, yeah.
Dual stick shooter,
it looked very pretty.
Classic.
Game too.
All right, well, so now we know you were at in Midway 3 weeks before Eugene left. but you did start your first job was Motorola. Is that right?
So Motorola, I was doing. I was a software engineer in test, so I was working in the lab for GSM, cell phone, base station, and handset software, and we were testing new software releases. And then I moved from 6 months into that. I moved to doing software development, and I was building out it's called a base station load generator. So think of like a giant equipment rack with a ton of cell phones all connected to it, and a central computer that would basically talk to all of them and run scripting so that they could connect, disconnect, camp on this cell tower, transfer to that cell tower, basically testing software releases for each of the phones in kind of an automated way.
And what do you call that? A base
station load generator. So
it sounds like something out of Star Wars, doesn't it, Aaron?
Yeah.
It's like, so one guy is going to turn the other one, activate the base station load generator, and then the music starts. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I got to write that down. That's
So it was, it was a very fun experience Motorola was doing really well back then, and hiring a lot of kind of new grads out of the Midwest engineering schools.
What year was this? Was this like?
So that would have been 98.
98. Yeah. So there's a picture of me, the rehearsal for my wedding. So this was 94.
Okay.
And my wife is standing next to me, and we have she's holding a Motorola brick phone.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I had you remember the StarTAC, the one of the first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think I had one of those. Yeah, I think I had a few Motorola phones. They made just
analog
like some really
StarTAC.
awesome. Yeah.
They had the car phones too, right? Like
the bag phones.
Yeah, like a big deal to have a phone in your car. That was
crazy.
Yeah, it was neat.
All right, so how long were you at Midway?
Cool time to be there. Met a ton of people.
Motorola for?
I was there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And the whole time, like I said, in college, I kind of knew my junior year of computer science that, like, what's a dream? Everybody's thinking about your career. What do you want to do with this? And there's a ton of people getting hired into the consulting firms. There's Y2K is coming. There's all kinds of like need for software engineers. Defense Department recruits highly out of Purdue, Lockheed Martin, all this stuff. And it's like, what do I want to do? And it's like, I want to make video games. If I could make a career out of making video games, that would be amazing. It's like a passion of mine growing up, and it's a pretty cool field. And it was a very different marketplace back then. Like, you needed to go work for a big publisher. There wasn't the idea of like the indie game developer, getting an Apple license and making an iPhone game in their home. There was a bit of an indie scene in kind of the shareware world and whatnot, but hard to break in that way. So I applied everywhere out of college, EA, Activision, Midway, everywhere. And, it's like, what's your experience? Well, I don't have any, and I wanted to go into development. I didn't want to go into QA or some other field. I was like, I want to develop games. So after kind of getting rejected from all of that, I started just canvassing in Chicago and got the job at Motorola, which again was a great job. It kind of gave me software development experience at a big company, met a ton of friends there, met my wife there. Yeah. And then I just kind of relentlessly kept applying to Midway in Chicago. And through that process, got to meet a couple people and got to know a couple people that worked there. And so then befriended a few folks. And so when a new position would come open on a team, like, I could nudge them, send my resume in again. And so ultimately got interviews that way, which was kind of how I got into Midway.
How many, I'm just curious, because this sounds like a nice story of persistence, How many times did you poke Midway before they were like, all right, come on, Mike, come on?
Probably 5 or 6 in the course of about a year.
Oh, that's a lot.
Every couple months. Yeah. Every couple months.
Do you consider yourself a persistent guy?
If I need to be, or when I need to be. Yeah. Try not to be annoying. But in that sense, if I'm chasing something or going after something, I feel like I have a bit of a persistence to my actions. So it's funny. I actually got that job, or I got the job offer. And I actually at Motorola was on a team that was, Motorola used to have these kind of process improvement teams. So you could do them kind of outside of work hours. You could band together with other people in the studio. And if you, had some fun customer-facing thing or internal process or something that would, help expedite things, add value to the company, you could pitch these things. And they had a local competition. And then if you wanted the local competition, you went to an international competition. And so like the teams were recognized and rewarded for doing this kind of thing. So I was on a team with my group. And it's funny, I can't even remember exactly what we were pitching at the time. It's been so long ago, but we came up with this process and we presented on it and we won the local competition. So the next phase is to go to Cyprus, and we're going to compete in the international competition with some other international Motorola. And I had already given my 2 weeks notice at Motorola that I was leaving. And so I went to my boss and I was like, listen, I would love to go. I've worked really hard, obviously, with this team, and we won. I would love to go on this, but I get it. It's one of my last 2 weeks here. If you don't want me to attend, I get it. But if you're open to it, I'd love to try and close things out as best I can in that last week and still attend this thing. He's like, let me think on it. Comes back the next day and he's like, look, if you think you can close it all out, leave it in good shape, you're good to go. You earn the right to go. So it was on that trip that I met my wife, who also worked at Motorola.
Wow.
Who also worked at Motorola, who worked in like the Schaumburg area, Arlington Heights area as well, but I didn't really know her. But it's just kind of a funny, like serendipitous, like all these things had to fall in place. Yeah. My life would be very different. So then I came home from that trip, and the next week I started at Midway, and it was, yeah.
Have you told like your boss who thought on it and then said, "Hey, you're in the right to go," which I think is a kind of a wedding.
Yes, he's actually married to a good friend of my wife's as well. So like I've kept in touch with him.
Okay,
but yeah.
What an awesome story! I love that.
Yeah.
You owe him at least.
And another funny story is on the way home, we got our seats moved next to each other on the flight home from Cyprus, and I had You Don't Know Jack on my laptop, and that was the game that we played together on the plane ride home. So, like, again, super weird moments of like the world coming together.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because You Don't Know Jack back in the day was, I think, potentially a deal breaker for couples.
Oh yeah.
Well, because it could get competitive.
Absolutely.
My wife and I would play that game.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't always end with high fives. You know what I mean?
Some of our games still have that effect. Yeah, if you're a hyper competitive person, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, so you end up that's a great early career story. And when I was asking if you were persistent, I wasn't. That wasn't like a judgment at all. It was I think like knowing what you want and going after it is ingredient number one, and actually achieving things. So I think that's super cool.
Agree. And I mean, I'm sure you get this all the time too. You talk to friends, family, parents, they're like, oh, my son, my daughter, they love video games, they want to get in the industry, how do you do it, what's your advice? Like, persistence is the number one piece of advice. Like, just keep going after it and, make opportunity for yourself. So,
yeah. So then you do end up at Midway, and, we've had quite a few folks, like we've had Eugene, we've had Matt Booty, we've had Ed Boon on. It's like what an incredible crucible of talent over the years and the diaspora from Midway. I mean, Ed's still there, but like just all the folks who have gone on to amazing careers and so much influence on the industry is astounding, you included. So like, what was it like when you first got there?
Oh, Midway was chaotic. It was, it was fun, but I feel like, looking back on it now, like you had to be that age, you had to be young and open to the craziness of it all. Like, but I think that's why it was also successful in its day, like the scrappiness of coin op and, small teams making these games so rapidly and, trying new technologies out all the time. And, Ed Boon with the Mortal Kombat team and doing the video capture into frames and like just really cool cutting edge stuff. It's always why I loved arcade as well, because it was always just generations ahead of what you could get at home.
We'll be right back. If you like what you're hearing, like and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And now, a word from our sponsors. Great games aren't just made, they're crafted. Pixel by pixel, idea by idea. Amber doesn't just develop games, Amber forges the future of play, one project at a time. From the magic makers at Disney to the tech giants at Amazon and Warner Media, the biggest names in the industry trust Amber to turn their wildest ideas into reality. Why? Because the talented teams at Amber believe in pushing every boundary, breaking every mold, and having a bit of fun while they're at it. Need a partner who knows the game and plays to win? Amber has the talent, the passion, and a global network that's ready to roll. So let's skip the loading screen and get straight to the action. Discover how Amber can power up your next project at amberstudio.com. Do you want your game to live forever? To supercharge it with immense powers of endless content, a buzzing gamer community, immortality, and coin? CurseForge for Studios, an exclusive service for visionary game developers, allows you to add safe, cross-platform mods to your game and enjoy all the benefits of user-generated content without any of the risks. With CurseForge for Studios, you can harness the creativity of our 165,000 devoted creators and the traffic of 43 million monthly gamers. You can also level up with premium mods and grant your game new revenue streams. Trusted by AAA studios, CurseForge for Studios is an immortality potion for your game. Enter studios.curseforge.com and join the UGC era. Leveling up your game dev career but not sure where to start?
Maybe you're trying to break into the industry, looking to connect with other people who are making games.
Consider joining the International Game Developers Association, the IGDA, the world's largest nonprofit member-driven professional association serving all individuals who create games.
I was in the IGDA in Chicago, met a lot of people, great way to network.
The IGDA exists to support and empower game developers around the world in achieving fulfilling and sustainable careers.
Discounts,
educational and advocacy-based resources,
mentorship,
and solidarity across 160 plus chapters.
To join the IGDA, visit igda.org/membership and use the code IGDA 4th Curtain 15, no spaces there,
to get 15% off 1- and 2-year memberships, as well as a student membership.
Joining the IGDA is a great move for your career, and as a nonprofit supporting everyone making games, it's a great move for the whole community. Join today.
And now, back to the show.
So that was very fun. The challenge was once they shut down CoinOp, nobody had a clue how to make console games. And it is just a very different kind of beast to develop. And so, you know, a lot of those early games out of Midway that went to console are very much exactly what was the arcade game, just ported. You know, you'd have like a coin in screen to press start to coin in 4 times to play 4 quarters of Blitz and stuff. And it's like, you know, that's just not the same design. And obviously the hardware is significantly different. Like the hardware at Midway, they used to develop their own hardware, which is kind of amazing as well. The CoinOps back in the day made their own PCBs, they made their own video chipsets, they'd source things together and build it all together, build their own kind of low-level libraries to support all this stuff, which was something that I learned really quickly when I jumped into the CoinOp development scene. It was like all this stuff was held together with like duct tape and baling wire. It's like hodgepodge of tooling, you know, internally.
It just had to work in this one setup.
Yeah, you know? This like team of savants had built, but it's like, God, you know, there's like nothing open source that I'm learning or books I can read from. It's, you know, and some of it didn't even have real-time debugging. You just had to like print log out everything because there was no way to hit breakpoints and debug anything. And so,
hey, that sounds like UAFN.
Where did you start? What game did you start on?
Yeah,
was it
so
Blitz?
I started on, again, it was supposed to be the sequel to the Sports Station cabinet. So the Sports Station cabinet is NFL Blitz 2000 and NBA Showtime. And we were going to do a 4-game Sports Station. So it was going to be the next NFL Blitz, the next NBA Showtime, and then it was going to be a soccer game, and it was going to be a baseball game. And so there were kind of 4 disparate teams that were being formed around that. And so when I started, I was working on like these mini games that you could play within NBA Showtime. And so they had like these pop-a-shot, light up kind of zones on the court that you'd shoot from and things like that. And then we were moving towards the next Blitz. So we were building Blitz, compiling it up, doing all that kind of stuff. And that's around the time that they shut down coin op and all the manufacturing that was up in Waukegan and whatnot. So then it became a bit of a scramble of like, what's your home? Where are you going? And we started getting PlayStation 2 dev kits in. I remember those things, those giant towers, and then needed to kind of rapidly hire people that knew how to work in some of these systems and platforms, and go up from what was small coin op teams of a handful of folks making each of these games to now each of these games become their own products, and now we need teams of 30 plus people working on them, depending on what the size and scope of it was. So it was super fun. It was very scrappy. The people that worked there were all characters. Neil Nicastro, and he's the CEO at the time. And it's just a very interesting, unique environment, but very fun. Just a lot of can do. I look back on a lot of, the EA spouse letter, if you remember, that came out about crunch and all that kind of, like, Midway was nonstop crunch, like literally nonstop crunch. And, and there's been a lot of people that have asked me about this kind of thing over the years. And there's obviously a lot of people that I went through this with that are ex-Midway folks. And we kind of still look back on that time fondly. Like, it was fun. It was like us, against the odds, us again, trying to build these things. And it wasn't, there was a lot of like, we got to get this done. There's a deadline coming. We're not going to sell any games if we don't get them done. And there was a lot of like learning on the job, but there was also just a lot of fun team building and camaraderie around that. I saw people get burned out. I myself had a couple of years where I took like 2 weekends off over a couple of years. I was newly married. I used to come home, have dinner with my wife, go back to the office until like 3 a.m, programming, come back home. Like, it was a slog. I don't recommend it long-term, but at the time it was kind of fun. And so, I built,
I think I have like two hot takes on that. One, you guys were young.
Yep.
And
right.
Two, there's a huge difference, in my opinion, between like the man telling you to get your stuff done versus the team going, "Come on, this is awesome. Let's make this great."
Right. Right.
Not that
not everyone interprets it.
Yeah. And not that any of it is okay to be like, well, you should work 80 hours and I'll pay you for 40. That doesn't make any sense. But there's a big difference between like some executives selling you down the river and not caring about your lifestyle versus I'm ambitious and I want to do a great thing.
Right.
So anyways.
I completely agree. I think that's a good qualifier there. And, the folks that might look back on some of that fondly, there are the whole group of folks that look at it the other way of like, they forced us to do this and, it stole years from my life. And like, it's again, like, it's up to your own interpretation of it and how you felt in doing it. And again, I think it's key what you're saying is I was young at the time, and so were a bunch of my contemporaries, and we were just thrilled to be doing this and like whatever it takes to do it and ship our first game or, make this next product.
And personally, I kind of think that's okay. Like, if you're young and you are able to get, be persistent and get in the door, bust your butt, go do the thing. That's
Well, I do. I mean, like, we're very conscious of it at Jackbox and that making sure we're not burning people out. And, we did a lot with a few number of people for many, many years. And then we decided like, we can't do this. We're going to burn people out. We need to add the adequate staff, production layers, things like that. And so we've made a concerted effort to make sure we aren't acting that way, but we still do have tight deadlines. I mean, we're on this annual schedule of release. And so deadlines approach, we don't move our dates. You got to get this game out in October. And so, we've at least learned to balance some of that, but like, there isn't required crunch. There is, we can figure out, and we've done it so many years now, we can figure out where the gates are and where the points of, give can be. We're going to reduce these features. We'll, patch this in later, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To try
did
and
you go
overcome it.
Midway to Jellyvision? Was that?
I did. Yeah.
And how long were you at Midway?
So I was at Midway almost 9 years. So I did software development on NFL Blitz 2002 and NFL Blitz 2003. Then I moved into a production role on the next game, which was NFL Blitz Pro, which was doomed to failure the moment we started.
Oh, no.
So I got put in as kind of the team lead or exec producer of that project. And so we had to meet with the NFL every year, and they would review all the animations in our games. And year over year, they would get more and more restrictive of what we could do in the product with late hits and, the graphic violence.
That's what made it so good.
I agree.
That's what made Blitz
made
good.
us compete with the Sims like Madden and at the time 2K. And, we were the alternative to that. We were arcade football and like the hyper realism stuff. No one actually got hurt. No one, it was all WWE like kind of moves. It was all rated T for teen programming. But there are concerns of injury, trauma, all that kind of stuff. Just the rep of the NFL. Like over the years, they just got more and more restrictive of it. So the box we could work in just got compressed. And so we had a multi-year agreement with them. The last year, they were basically like, we don't want another Blitz. And we're like, well, that's the only thing we can make. Like, we're not going to make a full sim and suddenly compete with Madden. That'll take years to do. And that's what we're known for. And so they kind of pushed us into this hybrid product called NFL Blitz Pro, which was 11-on-11 football with some arcade action. Like, it just watered down. Like, we went in this no man's land of like, you're either arcade or you're sim, and we're here now.
In the middle.
Nobody
the
wants
dreaded
that.
middle. Yeah.
It appeals to no one. And so that was a tough cycle because we kind of all knew that as we were building it. We're like, this isn't fun and this isn't going to do well. But again, there's contractual commitment. We have to build this game. And First Shot is kind of running a whole team. We put that game out. We did some cool stuff. We were one of the first games for Midway that had online multiplayer in it. So we kind of pioneered that internally for the studio, which a number of other teams grabbed and used. But again, the writing was on the wall. This game wasn't going to do great. So we knew at the end of that cycle, even before the game launched, okay, our license is up with the NFL. We can either go back to them and try to relicense it, or we can walk away from this. And we made the decision at that point to walk away from it with the intent of trying to make an M-rated football game. We're going to basically do everything the NFL won't let us do. And shortly after that decision was made, EA makes the big announcement that they got the exclusive license to the NFL. So the NFL locked it down just with EA for Madden. And we had already been working on this like mature rated game internally, what we might do with it. So when we actually pitched that or announced that to the marketplace, they're like, oh, well, that's in reaction to EA. We're like, no, we're like 6 months into this thing already. We were planning this all along. But so that was the next title. After Blitz Pro didn't do well, there was a kind of a going concern for the team. Like my job, the team, are we going to get split up and pieced out to other projects? And we made the pitch internally for what became Blitz Unleashed, or Blitz the League. Blitz Unleashed was the working title of it. Blitz the League was the M-rated football game. And we kind of scraped together a team internally to build that. We got support to greenlight it internally. And that was, if you know Dave Lang from Iron Galaxy, he was my lead engineer on the project. Adam Boyes, also from Iron Galaxy, now from Vibrato, and Sony, he was my senior producer on the team. So a whole bunch of really fun, again, young guys who are just going to prove we can do this, prove that there's a market for this, prove that, there's an opportunity here. And that was a really, really fun development cycle. And that game came out and actually did quite well. So that was a fun moment. So then from that project, I moved, they promoted me to be in charge of all the sports games. So I was the director of the sports department. So that included MLB Slugfest and Red Card Soccer and and Blitz and NBA Ballers and then Matt Booty was studio head, and he ended up getting promoted to being just under CEO, kind of vice president of development. And so I ended up moving into the studio head role. So when I left Midway, I was running product development in Chicago, and there were the sports games, and then there was the Mortal Kombat team, and there was Brian Eddy's team with Stranglehold at the time. And so big development studio, and very fun career trajectory and fun experiences all along that, but kind of get back to that tenacity thing, or that, going after, I think a lot of the opportunity presented itself for me at Midway because I was working my butt off and trying to show result from it, and passionate about the things that I did, and so it proved a really kind of fun trajectory there, and sad when all of it kind of imploded and there was writing on the wall, and I actually left about a year before Midway filed bankruptcy and whatnot. But that's when I left. I left from there to go to what at the time was just being called Jellyvision Games. And it was the founder, Harry, wanted to restart the gaming company. He had this Jellyvision lab company running. He wanted to restart the gaming company. And so put out a search in Chicagoland area, and somehow I got it. So.
Right on. Okay. I'm going to make a little observation, and then I have a question.
Sure.
One observation is just listening to the trajectory of Midway, where, they've gone through in their history. I mean, amazing company, amazing people, amazing brand, but has been a different thing many times, like from pinball to arcade to console, to being focused on these bigger brands, lots of pivots. And so you were there for 9 years through, some of those. Yeah. And even like the NFL, going from the NFL license to not the NFL license, that's a pivot.
Right.
And then you start over at Jellyvision, that kind of was doing educational stuff. And now just doing sort of like business to business stuff. And now it's like getting back into these the roots of gaming.
Right.
Also pivots. So that's an observation that is that something that you feel like, have you noticed that? Does that tickle your thinking, like in terms of like, hey, here's an opportunity to take something that like maybe we learned from something that wasn't working and turn this into something that could work true well for us, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting outside observation. I don't think I've ever looked at it quite that way. I think it felt more organic in the timing of how these things happened. But there might be something there kind of subconsciously. But I do think, seriously, you need to always be innovating or thinking about what's next. Like we're always talking about this at Jackbox. Like we're thrilled that we're on Party Pack 12, but who would have thought Party Pack 12, when we were making Party Pack 2, we're like, ooh, what's next? Like we got to figure this out. The fact this franchise has had legs for so long is awesome, but are we going to be talking 10 years from now about Jackbox Party Pack 22? Like,
yes, okay,
yes,
we
will,
well,
thank
Mike.
You.
Yes,
I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I think we need to look at a very changing marketplace and figure out how we fit in it, and what do we do? What do we do well? What are platforms for us? What are IP for us? What's opportunity look like? And so in that sense, strategically, we're not changing what we do at Jackbox. We're still making party packs. People love them. We're going to keep making that kind of party pack from us, from our DNA. But how might we diversify? I think, publishing is a good way to diversify, get us into single player games and get us into, other markets, things that we don't participate in right now, but we've built up this audience. We've built up a marketplace. We've built up a marketing machine. Like we feel like we can be successful in taking some indie games to market. So that's an experimentation for us, but one we're going after, we're committed to it. The
how do you
like
think about those things, like those opportunities, like, you were talking about at the beginning, the kinds of things that you guys were working on, but in third party publishing is a great example. Like how do you like think about which of these, what do you say no to? Here's where we are. Do you think about like where you want to be? Do you think about here's all the things we could do? This is probably the best idea because of X, Y, and Z. Like how do you navigate?
Yeah, iteration is key. I think we've tried different things and found some success and found some failure. We've kind of put money and initiative behind different things, again, to kind of varied results. But the things that do bear fruit, we tend to double down on. We go after. Like a good just philosophical argument. We could easily, add another team in the studio and make another party game a year if we wanted to, or add a second team and make another party pack. I don't think that's beneficial to us. I think we're saturating the market, oversaturating the market. We're competing with ourselves. If suddenly we're launching 10 party games a year instead of 5 party games a year. It's really hard to carve out news about those things, get them a beat to like have meaning in the marketplace, be key around the holidays, which is when, our games do the best, when family and friends are together, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, kind of the big winter holidays. It wouldn't serve us well to compete with ourselves. And so how do we expand? By not doing that. And so that's where, there are some one-off games that are different enough or big enough as a franchise that we can launch alongside the Party Pack franchise. But publishing kind of emerged from that as well. We'd go to, we go to just about every Penny Arcade, PAX Expo. We go to GDC. We go to Gamescom. We go to tons of events. And we're looking at IP that's out there in the market, indie devs, indie games that come out. And it's like, would we have published that? Like, would that have made sense? Like, yeah, that game would have been awesome if Jackbox would have published that. Or like, this is in our DNA, or this is, something our audience would love if you drew a Venn diagram of this game and our games. And so, we could take millions of dollars internally and try to build another team to compete with ourselves, or we can take that same budget and push it towards finding some indie dev ideas that we might publish and kind of build a business unit around that for expansion. So, and again, a bit of a diversification play for us. Like, we're looking for things that will resonate with our audience. We're looking for things that are either party or social or humorous. But we're not looking for a phones as controllers, analog game to Quiplash or Fibbage or one of our games. Like, we do that fine. We don't need to find an indie dev and support them that's going to compete with what we do. We want to find things that are a bit tangential, but super relevant and make sense that Jackbox published it. So that's like the basis of a strategic discussion around why we might pursue publishing. It's a whole different kind of checklist of what we're interested in and what we're not interested in. And, in all candor, we're kind of figuring that out. We've only really announced one game. We're negotiating and discussing with a couple others at the moment, but we haven't signed anything. I think what we're hoping is a bit of a crawl, walk, run kind of thing. We'll ship one this year. We'll kind of figure out what we did right, what we did wrong. We'll next year maybe get to a couple, and then we'll grow from there.
What about like platforms too? Like you'd mentioned Netflix.
Yeah.
And like VR, and then there's like Discord, right?
Yep.
And there's all like, is that like another thing? Like another,
yeah.
Like, are you thinking, like, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I'll give you one quick analogy. Back when we first launched Fibbage, which was our first phones as controllers game, it was before we did the first Party Pack. We did those both in 2014, the first year of that franchise. People started playing Fibbage on Twitch, and they would just share their screen, and then didn't matter where anybody was in the world. If they had the room code, they could go to Jackbox.tv and join and play. And streamers were kind of loving this idea. And so we leaned really hard into that and added audience modes to our games after that. So Quiplash, when that came out the following year, was the first game to support an audience mode, which the game will let the first 8 or 10 people, depending on the game, join as contestants. After that, 10,000 people can join that game session as an audience member. And depending on the game, you're either playing along or you're voting or you're affecting the game in some meaningful way. And so we'd see these streamers when we first did that with Quiplash, we'd see these streamers that go live and they might have, 8 or 10,000 live viewers and 5,000 of them join. And their buddies that are playing are the actual contestants, but then the audience vote comes in and sways it one way or the other way, and like uproarious laughter. And, it's like, this is really powerful. So we try to look at those kind of things. I wouldn't necessarily call that as a platform for release, but that's a platform for us for promotion and advertising and just word of mouth. Like the best promotion for us is word of mouth. You play our games at a adult cocktail party or at a holiday party with family, and you have a good time. Like, you're a good candidate to figure out, how do I get that at my house now? So when I host next time, we've got something to do with everybody. Like, word of mouth is still one of the biggest things for us besides just paid advertising. But again, we lean into things like that from platforms. Twitch is a good example. Discord is another one. Discord is building a marketplace. They're going public. They've kind of changed the way they're going to do their marketplace now. But with what we're doing for streaming, I guess just as a side note, we're on 13 platforms right now. So the Party Pack is available on every console, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. It's PC.
Can you play
Mac.
it on the on the airplane? Can you play it on the seat
Not
back?
playing on an airplane yet, but we've actually talked to those people. The problem is you don't know people on the plane, so it's got to be a bit of an anonymous gameplay. And a lot of our user-generated content doesn't do well if you don't know who's typing what. But yeah, we're on set-top boxes, Apple TV, Fire TV. We're on all these platforms, and part of the logic behind that is we're a very casual game. Like we're, the competition for us is Cards Against Humanity or the Game of Life or charades or a board game, or it's not Call of Duty and Fortnite and hardcore games. That's an audience for us, but that's a different audience, and so we need to try and go after more casual consumers who don't consider themselves gamers or don't have a console in their house. And so going after platforms like smart TVs is a way to get there.
Very smart.
How to add an app like Netflix or Hulu. Now you can add a Jackbox app, and you can play our games. You can subscribe and play all the games. And so we look at Discord as an opportunity for that too. Once that streaming service is live, we can add that as a channel to Discord, as opposed to having, premium purchase type thing. Now it's a streaming channel that can embed. And if we can get smarter with the API, you could do it so you could just lobby a whole room in Discord and press a button and everybody's now lobbied up in the game. And so we've got these longer term ambitions of how to service particular platforms. But for us, it's just, we want to be ubiquitous. We want to be accessible everywhere. Yeah. And
you should do that. You should do that in Slack as well.
Yeah.
Do you have a Slack integration?
Sure. We don't. No. But yeah, you can do that.
But like every company does that's
a happy hour.
They do a fun Friday or a happy hour, and it's like we would do it.
Yeah. We looked into Zoom for a while because during COVID and during lockdown, like a lot of games companies, we really popped during that, and we kind of went from a gaming brand to a household name. Like suddenly everybody's playing Quiplash or Fibbage to connect with their family that's locked down, and there was a lot of play over Zoom and Hangouts and you name it. So we were kind of looking a little bit at how do we integrate into that, but we still had a problem of like, where's the game residing? And so this whole cloud idea it kind of emerged then, and we really put emphasis behind it in the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, we did that when we won a couple of times, or more than once. Yeah, we did that for one of our. Look, it was great for our business, but it also put a stigma. It was a little bit of like, oh, that's the thing we did when we were all locked down for COVID. It's like, no, it's still a thing everybody does now. Keep playing our games. Don't COVID with us. We did it during COVID, and we did it recently here at our studio. We did.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah. All right. So you overcame the COVID stigma.
Yeah. That's right. We've done it a few Fridays. Yeah.
Good.
Cool. I have one more question, Aaron. I don't know. I don't want to. If you have one more question, I don't want to preempt your question.
He said he was still in the same studio, or the studio was still there, the same one. I didn't understand that. Before we started recording, you were mentioning
the same location. You mean
where we work out of?
Yeah.
So
it's the same one from the early 2000s. The same building.
Yeah, same building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now we actually moved. So the Jellyvision Lab and Jellyvision Inc., which is the games company, are two separate companies, but we co-located in the same building. We actually shared a couple employees that worked for both companies. When we, around 2014, we exited that building and we moved 2 blocks away. So we were basically, 2 blocks down. And we rebranded at that time as well to Jackbox.
Separate bedrooms.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of outgrew mom and dad's house, I guess. And so we moved down the block. They're still there. Post-COVID, when we kind of downsized some of our office space and decided, we're a remote first company, we moved back into that original building. So we're still back in that space.
Okay.
And I have one other question, and this is the Netflix thing.
I said
no. Well, this is the other one. I'm really curious about the Netflix thing because we kind of poked around at that too, and I how is that going? Like, what is the?
Can I piggyback on that question? And Mike, if you have a hard out.
I don't. So we're good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just to piggyback on the Netflix question, this is something I'm super curious about your opinion on. Like, Amazon is doing something similar where it's like it's games that stream, if they come under a global subscription, and sort of the economics and business model here is kind of new and different from either free to play or traditional. Because there isn't usually IAP associated with these games, and there's not a retail purchase either. It falls under a master subscription, which I think could be challenging for a company. I would imagine for a company like yours. I don't know. But so that's the question. And I don't know if that's sort of, if you were thinking about the business aspect of it, Aaron, or if your question was something different.
Yeah, like all of it. Like, how's it been going? Like, is it profitable? Is it like did you go to them? Did they come to you? Like, that kind of thing.
I mean, we've had lots of discussions with Netflix for many years in various ways, shapes, or forms. Some even including, our games kind of are set up really well as game shows. And so we've talked with Hollywood, we've talked with Netflix about taking some of our IP and turning it into game shows on network TV or streaming platforms. And so we've kind of had a relationship in various facets with folks over there for a while. As they moved much heavier into gaming, first it started on mobile, then it moves now into TV. And then they also, start publicly acknowledging they want to go into party as a gameplay mechanic. Like, that's when discussions with us, kind of really, got serious. I can't really tell you business aspects of the deal, but, as you would imagine, we're not selling units, right? It's not like PlayStation where we're actually selling a unit and then people play it however much they want. It's very much like a Game Pass deal or a PlayStation Plus deal where we basically licensed our IP for that service at some fee. And so, we recognize money over the term of that, and they can offer the game for free to people during that time frame. So that's kind of how that arrangement is. To your point, like, is that help us or hurt us, or businesses like us? I think it all depends on the fundamentals of the business and kind of where your revenue streams come from. Obviously 3 of our games are available now for free to the public. Like, does that mean sales are going to go down of those 3 games? We haven't seen that. We're 2 weeks into it. It's so far it's going really well. I think it's very popular. The Netflix mobile app, so they require a mobile app that you use as your controller. That shot up to number 1 in the charts and beat out ChatGPT and a bunch of others as top free apps in the App Store. And so, none of this has been acknowledged, but we like to think, well, that all happened right when Jackbox launched. And so I think that might have something to do with it. And so I think it's going all right. And so, we're hopeful, and we make our own conclusions out of that. But
good job. Good job, Mike.
Thanks. But yeah, so far it seems to be going really well. I mean, it's been a good partnership. It's been a decent amount of dev work on our side to make our stuff work in their framework. But it all seems to be going really well.
Yeah, I think their strategy is super smart. What they're doing, what they're choosing to focus on now. The jury's still out in my head as to like net positive for the industry.
I think it's
maybe
tough.
If it gets a bigger footprint, then sort of like it becomes more relevant, and that's good. And maybe that means there's more commerce opportunities for developers, which is also good. We'll see.
Yeah. So you brought up Luna as well. So, Luna is very much like Stadia. It's their cloud service. They have focused a little more heavily on certain types of games where I think Stadia went after your AAA replacement. You don't need your PS5 anymore. Like, it's 4K streaming and whatever. And I think the maybe misstep there is not thinking of switching costs and how I've invested years of my life into this console, and all my friends are there and all my achievements are there. And I'm not going to suddenly start playing Call of Duty on cloud streaming when it's on PlayStation 5 as well. Right. So I think Luna hasn't leaned as heavily into we're going hardcore AAA replacement, and I think that's helped them a bit. We had our own subscription channel on there, which actually was just continuing to grow over time. So there was a monthly subscription to the Jackbox channel. You got access to all of our party packs. They just made the announcement to take down all those channels and kind of refocus just on their greater Prime Gaming kind of initiative through Luna. So it's an ever-changing marketplace. I don't know that anybody's really figured it out yet, but I think strategically for us, it's a last mile problem. We've kind of gotten our games on all of the hardware that can natively support it, right? We're on, again, all the consoles. We're on PCs.
Are you on Next?
We on what's that? The Next?
The Next.
Yeah. So those are all motion games, and they want them to all continue to be motion games. So If that changes, I think a lot of our IP could run just fine on that box. But right now we don't have any kind of Kinect-like motion games. But set-top boxes like Apple TV, Fire, all those are good. They're good casual boxes for us. But then you get into like Roku. There's millions and millions of those out in the wild, but that doesn't have the hardware, the CPU memory, or the graphics processor to run games natively. But could it run a cloud stream of our games? It could. Same thing with smart TVs like Samsung, LG, Vizio, like you name all the big brands, like same thing. And so for us, that's a good opportunity to get to casual consumers. And I think where a lot of those prior services are built off of sync up a controller and play your AAA games, we're like, no, you don't need to do any of that. Just play party games. Your TV remote selects the game, then you take your phones out and you play. Like there's nothing to pair. There's no apps to download. There's no friction. And, make it affordable, give a free tier away where you can play games. There's ads that, come up before you play the games. Like, I think there's an opportunity there. And I think if Netflix finds success in that realm, I think other big streamers are going to be looking at how do I add gaming to Hulu? How do I add gaming to Paramount Plus or, any of these other big services? They're all going to look for the next thing. So I think it creates a lot of interesting opportunity for us to have our own. Yeah. And we have so much of it we built. We've got a catalog of IP.
Right. That's a pretty smart observation, I would say. And I think the way that you guys have built your business, where you have mastery and a great catalog and a niche in the best way that you have, it's your best in class. Now you're able to think about all those last mile, opportunities to really grow and support, your horizontal growth with your publishing business. It's very smart. Yeah. I was going to ask, my last question was going to be, Mike, what do you think your superpower is, going from being like an engineer to a producer to CEO? And I think you're, I don't know, my observation is that you're pretty smart. You're like, you're reasonable plus smart, which is not always the same. You don't get those two in the box together often. So
well, thank you for that. I like problem solving. That's a little bit of the engineer behind me, I think. I've kind of always looked for like leadership opportunities too. I've always looked to like, how can I help do this, or what can I do here? And I think the melding of those couple of things have just led me on the trajectory I'm on. But I'm also a fan. Like, I love video games. I love playing games. The fact that I made a career developing them is a bit of a dream come true. I've been at Jackbox now. It'll be 18 years this summer. It's like, I never would imagine I would have been at a company that long, but it has been an incredible, fun ride with really great people. And I love the product we build. I love people telling us the joy we bring to their parties or their holidays or whatever. And I hear those stories, and all of the people that work at Jackbox hear those stories all the time. And it's super rewarding. And I know anybody that makes games hears that kind of thing and how much fun people have with them. But like, to be this long into a franchise and still consistently hear like, you saved our Christmas. Like, we didn't, my aunt and uncle don't get along, or we just laughed the whole time. And it's like, you hear stories like that, and it's really uplifting as well. And I think that's part of the stickiness of Jackbox too, for people that work there. Like, we really enjoy what we make.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hey, listener, if you're thinking about a career in games, that's it right there. That's why you do it. That's why you bust your butt, why you show up early, why you work late, why you care, why you suffer through failures, is for that right there. You saved our Christmas. I love that. Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, nice.
Kept you a little long. It's great to hear your story. Very proud of you. South side of Chicago, doing all that you do for our industry.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you guys too for what you do. I think this is a great forum. Love hearing everybody come on. It's great.
Right on. Thanks. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. We shall see you around. Okay.
All right. See you later, good. Right. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Fourth Curtain Podcast. Visit us at thefourthcurtain.com to find our monthly newsletter and support the show via Patreon. The Fourth Curtain Podcast is a production of Fourth Curtain Media. Lovingly edited by Bryen Hensley of Noise Floor Sound Solutions. Video production by Sarkis Grigorian. Production support by Kimya Taheri. With community management by Doug Zartman and art production by Paul Russel. Thanks again for listening.